if you are a matriculant this year, or you are the parent of a matriculant and your child will be a first year in university or college next year, then this video is for you. Especially if you need accommodation for them and you need to find a space that they can go and live closer to the college or university and so on. And in this video I wanted to explain what are the different type of options that you have when it comes to student accommodation, what's the pros and cons of it, and where do you find those types of accommodation, so that you can begin your house hunting nice and early. And you definitely, if you haven't started yet, it's already time. All the open days and all of the registrations are opening for accommodation within the next month or two. So make sure that you get the best spaces and you're not left in a bind when you come next year, February, March, and you're looking for a space for your child, because you're definitely going to struggle and you're going to end up staying in a space that is not ideal for what you want. Hi, my name is Retha and I'm the CEO of My Student House. We are a student accommodation agency and we help parents and matriculants and other university students find spaces to rent and to live close to campus and be successful in your endeavors to study. So this is who I am. We have thousands of students all across the country, and specifically in 4 provinces, and you can see more about that, all the different areas we service on our website. Welcome. So what's the first option? On-campus residences, and I think that is sort of the one that everybody tries to get into. That's the one where you are living in a building on campus or very, very close to campus. And that, obviously, that's very nice because it's run by the university. There's lots of socials and interaction that's happening there, close to campus, so you don't need to have additional transport. They offer a whole lot of, potentially meals and catered accommodation and things like that. So that is the one that we all kind of know and that we all our first year students definitely want to get into. But unfortunately, the reality is that 80 to 90% of all the students will not be able to live in those residences. There's simply not enough space. And they will be forced to go to private accommodation. All right, and that's where things start to get a little bit more interesting. So obviously the negatives about living on campus, because there's a lot of students that will, stay with us 1 year, go to res the next year and then come back again, because there's obviously cons as well to that. So the privacy, that you don't have as much privacy, you have to live by very strict university rules. A lot of the universities, especially in the beginning of the year, specifically because there's not a lot of space, a lot of students are actually left stranded and they end up having a lot of protest action. So when you live at those reses, that's normally where a lot of the protest action will take place and originate from. So that could cause a lot of disruption in your studies. Also, when the university closes during recess in June and the end of the year, they have very strict rules about no students are allowed to remain at res. So you have to go home, even though you might have other things and you maybe can't go or you don't want to go home. You still have to, because those are the rules. They have to be empty during those times. So those are the negatives of it, definitely. Then of course there's private rentals. Now with private rental, that is, if you go out and you look on Property 24 or private property, Gumtree, and there's a flat or a house or something that you as a parent can rent for your child, and they basically stay there. Okay, so that's like a normal rental. Now you get furnished and unfurnished rentals. Furnished, obviously the easiest place to get that would be on Airbnb, but obviously a little bit pricey. Then you can definitely negotiate. You can contact those hosts and negotiate a long-term rental for your child. So you can say to them, listen, can we want to book your place for 10 months, 8 months, 10 months, whatever it is, and please can you just give me a special rate. And 9 out of 10 times those hosts will definitely do it, because they struggle to find tenants in winter months, or whenever it's not a popular time for tourists. So that's definitely one. The other one, obviously, Property 24 and private property. And those ones, the negatives about it is obviously that chances are that it will not actually have furniture. So you will need to pay all your extra bills like that. So you will have to pay, furnish the place, you will have to pay for Wi-Fi, you will have to pay your water and electricity. Whereas at campus, at Res, obviously you don't pay for that. That's all an all-inclusive rate, which you will get at campus, which is why those accommodations are actually also a bit more expensive, because it does include all of these amenities for you. It's a lease agreement that you have to complete. You might have to sign a 12-month lease. A lot of landlords won't allow just a 10-month lease. So even though you might not be there, nobody might be living in the place in December and January, you will probably still need to sign for that lease. And then, of course, if you have the means, then that's like property investment. You can buy a property and your child can stay there with a friend. And of course, in these private rentals as well, if you have a friend from school and you're going to the same university, yay, great, you can choose your roommate. And at Res you can't typically choose your roommate, so that way you can actually live with your friends. Then of course, then you also have shared houses. Now those are called different things, communes, those sort of things. What is it? It is basically a house that has been converted into different rooms with some common spaces, like a lounge, maybe a dining room, a TV room, things like that. So you actually everybody's living together in a house. Obviously the pros of that is that there's a lot of like-minded individuals around you. There's other students there. You can make some friends, a lot of culture. If you at my student house, what we do is we arrange sport activities and cultural activities, outings. We have a birthday bus, all kinds of things like that. But not everybody provides that. So it's important that you do ask if you go to live in a space like that you do ask them in advance what they provide. Now normally these shared houses could include, but again very, very different depending on where you go, it could include your water and electricity as well, and definitely it should definitely include your internet costs there. Obviously the negatives of it is you need to make sure that you're close to campus, that you can walk, or that you're close to a bus route. Otherwise you need to make sure that there's parking if you have your own car. Negatives, obviously there could be a lot of conflict between housemates. Definitely there will be some chores that will be shared, and therefore you need to do your bit, and everybody in the house needs to do their bit. So that could create a little bit of conflict, and then obviously there's a bit more less privacy, because now you're sharing common spaces and so on. Student apartments. Now this one is definitely my favorite, and I would definitely send my child to a space like this, where it's basically an apartment. So it's somebody that took a block of flats, an investor or a developer or whatever, and they took that block of flats, which could be 2-bedroom flats, 1-bedroom flats, 3-bedroom flats, and they have turned that and they've converted it into student accommodation. So what does that mean? That just simply means that they put furniture into the space, and there will still be a little bit of a common area. Each apartment has its own kitchen, and there's generally, 4 people, maximum 5 people, 3 to 5 I would say, that shares an apartment like that. So that kind of gives you your privacy. You might still be sharing a room with someone, but in terms of the general share and the conflict and all of that, it's reduced, because now you're only 3 in an apartment. So it's much easier to stay with less people like that. The negatives obviously of it is that you probably will have to pay your own electricity, which could add a little bit of extra cost there for you. Then of course there's limited private space, like I said. There might not be a big TV room or a lounge or something like that, and it's basically just you and your roommates in the flat, and then there could be a braai area, outside area, that sort of thing. It just depends on where you go. And then of course there's where everybody wants to go, which is purpose-built student accommodation. And all that means is that it's a building that a developer went and they said, I want to do student accommodation right from the outset, and they decided to set that property up in such a way that it's convenient for students. So typically it'll be close to transport, or they might have their own transport, shuttles from the dorm or from the building to the university. And there will most likely be some kind of gym facilities, outside play areas, maybe a pool, and that can go up to as luxury as you want it. I've literally heard of a place that is almost like a 5-star hotel for students. Of course, that comes with a definite big price tag, and you need to just make sure that what you're getting yourself into there. Okay, then obviously those ones are also definitely less flexible on the lease agreement. So again, you might end up paying for 12 months. So definitely make sure that you don't end up signing for 12, but just the 10 that you will actually be staying there for. It can also feel a little bit institutional, so not necessarily feel like a family. So it just depends on how you are as a person, whether you would prefer that. Very, very good examples of that would be Res Publica, Campus Ski, and Rise Student Living. They have these big buildings specifically built for students across the country at most of the major universities. Living with relatives, so that could be very, very convenient for you and cost effective, depending on how much you have to contribute to your relatives for having your child stay there, or you staying with your cousins or whatever. And there could be a little bit of a cost involved in that, but now it depends on, there's probably no lease agreement, so that's just going to depend on your arrangement with your family in terms of the child staying there. Definitely less independence, and now I'm talking to the students, not the parents. Obviously if you're living with your cousin and your aunt or uncle, then there will be certain limits that they will still want to impose on you. And then that could obviously also cause family conflicts if something goes wrong, or for whatever reason the person staying with the family is not behaving in a way that they expect them to. And then of course you can't dictate where family lives, so that could be far from campus, and then you will end up having to put in some money at least for transport. And depending on how far it is, it's not just about the money but also about the time, because sometimes students do spend and they carry on until quite late at campus, whether on social activities, study groups, extra classes. They will tend to at some point have to study quite late, and then they might not be able to take public transport at those times of the night. So that could definitely end up in a bit of a transport bill for you. Those are all the main ways and places where students stay. And at my student house we offer apartments, we offer house shares, and you can definitely have a look at all the different places that we have on our websites. Cool, I hope that gives you a little bit of a clearer idea on everything that you can expect and where to find it. Happy house hunting!